Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It's Sunday morning and we're staying with the Idaho 4, the 4 students killed by an unknown person, unknown suspect this morning. What the police have done, which I think is really useful, and I've been praising law enforcement in this case for trying to quell as many rumours as they can, obviously without interfering with the integrity of the investigation. But they've told us to date, and the last update was the 25th, so a couple of days ago now, who is not believed to be involved. The 2 surviving roommates, the male in the grub truck surveillance video, so hoodie guy, the private party driver who took Kaylee and Maddie home on November 13th, the male Kaylee and Maddie called numerous times during the early morning hours, so between 2:26 and about 2:52, I think it was, and that was to Kaylee's ex-boyfriend Jack. Lots of people suspected Jack, but they've ruled him out. And then any individual at the residence when the 911 call was made, so that's including the roommates and the friends that they called. So in this video, I'm going to try and work out whether we can narrow down the suspect. And I don't mean by naming names. I mean by looking at possible motive. Can the motive lead to the killer? Now, normally, when I look at a case and we've got an unknown suspect, I start with motive. I start with why. And then I look at who. And then I look at how. It's just my thing. But in this case, I think we've got to go one step back to look at why these victims and why that guy. So a few days ago now, I put a potential profile out, and I'm sticking with this profile for the time being. And I've had some people who said, aren't profiles meant to be very specific? No, they're not. They can be more specific when you've got more details. I'm not privy to any of the police investigation. I'm not privy to knowing anything about the autopsy results. I'm not privy to anything, anything at all, other than what the general public is. So my profile is fairly broad. However, look at it. It's pretty specific as well. Pretty specific. You know, this guy, somebody known to the victims. Military training, ex-military, maybe even a military wannabe, right? But somebody who's used to blood, who's got skill in using a knife, has killed before, if not humans, non-human animals. So it could be a hunter. I've had a lot of people say, Michelle, and you're not even mentioning hunters. I am. What do hunters do? They kill non-human animals. And then they've got a variety of hypermasculine, misogynistic, and some personality constructs. So the attitudinal and personality constructs I'm less clear about, but I am developing, and I do think this was a lone wolf killing. But that's as specific as I can get a profile without knowing more. But we do know some things. We know who murders and who is most likely to be murdered. And we can look at global statistics, and these are statistics from the United Nations. And this was a global study on homicide in 2019, and we know overwhelmingly over 80% of people who are murdered in the world are male. And we only find that when we talk about intimate partner or family-related homicides, that we get more women are killed by their partners than men are. And about 90% of all homicides are committed by male perpetrators. And worldwide, more than half of victims are killed by firearms. But this doesn't fit the profile of our murdered, does it? Because 3 out of the 4 were women. And the male, Ethan, I don't think he was the target. He was a visitor. So to kill 3 young women, potentially targeting 5 young women, a house of 5 young women, is very, very unusual. We've got to go further. And this is British data, but it splits up the circumstances of how women are killed. British data, but this will apply to the US. Majority ex-partner. And then the next biggest category is actually strangers. Murdered by strangers. Now, some of those will be sexually motivated, but not all. And then we've got family members, friends, acquaintances, motive there usually arguments, disagreements. And most women, when they're murdered, are murdered at home. So this builds up a picture for our situation. For this guy, and I do believe it's a guy, like that's my number one. 90% of murderers are male anyway. But I think in this instance, the fact that a knife is used when a firearm would have been easier, much easier, to subdue and murder quickly multiple people, a firearm, much easier. Spree killers usually, the vast majority of times, use a firearm. But not so our guy. And these victims, there's something particular about these victims. Now, they were all students. So is there something about those students? Does this guy not like students? Does this guy not like women? That's why I've got some attitudinal factors in my profile. But why this guy and why these victims? Now, these are the categories that I think the cops are going to have been working on. So we know that Xana and Ethan had their partners with them because they were boyfriend and girlfriend. Kaylee's ex, Jack, he's been ruled out. Maddie had a boyfriend, I believe, called Jake. I'm sure all the partners and all the known ex-partners of the victims will be looked at very carefully. Have they all been ruled out? Do they all have solid alibis? We don't know. But I've got a problem with that because why would they go on murder? Say this was Maddie's boyfriend or an ex-boyfriend of Kaylee. Why would they murder everyone else? Everyone else that they could find. I've said this multiple times now. I'm reasonably confident, I'm not sure, but I'm reasonably confident that the killer didn't know that there was 2 other roommates sleeping in the basement. Could it be family and friends? I don't think so in this instance. I don't think family, they will be looked at. Every single family member will have been looked at. But I can't see it being family. Could be a friend who feels wronged. Could be a friend who's felt wronged by them all, maybe. And I'm guessing that could be a line that the police are looking at. Stalker. Now, this is something that it fits kind of with domestic homicides quite frequently because sometimes women and occasionally men who are killed by stalkers, it's an ex-partner, so it really fits in category 1 and category 3. But I'm talking about a non-domestic stalker. Now, it has been said that Kaylee had a stalker, and we've had some indication from law enforcement that they're not aware of a link between them, but they're still investigating it. So Kaylee's stalker could be a good line of inquiry, and I'm sure the police are looking at that very, very, very closely. But why would somebody who's stalking Kaylee, or any one of the 4 that were murdered, want to kill multiple people? Could it be that they were targeting 1 but ended up killing 4? But why? Why? Did it all go wrong? Is that the problem? Did it all go wrong? And what I mean by that is, did the killer just plan to sneak in and kill the one that they were stalking? And then the other 3 got in the way somehow? And the number of stalkers that turn killers is really small. But I think still that stalker has to be identified and ruled out. There's 2 other categories that I want to look at in relation to this guy. One of them you might not think is relevant, and that is a hate killer. So these are people who kill through hate. Now, they're not targeting somebody personally, an individual. They're targeting that person because they are a representative of a group of people that they dislike. There's 4 reasons why people commit hate crime. And again, you might think this is not relevant because, you're looking at like racial hate crime and things like that. But sometimes the target of hate can be a group that you don't expect, like women. Women that they can't have, unattainable women. These types of crime are often driven by an immature itch for excitement, usually young, bored men, barely adult, marauding through the neighbourhoods, mayhem on their mind. Well, it doesn't quite fit our killer, but I've been thinking for a while, and it's partly my profile, that I think there's a misogynistic element to this, which leads me on to the thrill killer. And a thrill killer, in my mind, would fit most closely what happened. Thrill killers who are those who murder without motive. There's no disgruntled boyfriend, no jealous relative, no family squabble, no stalker, no evidence of SA, or a mugging, or a robbery that got out of hand. It is literally no known motive. And they're literally doing it for a thrill, for sport. Now, there could be an element of hate in there, dislike of women, dislike of those women, felt spurned by one or more of those women. It would explain why 4 people died. It's all I've got for now. This is puzzling me. This is highly, highly unusual. Highly unusual. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I've been Michelle. Hope you well. I'll see you in the next video. It's goodbye from Miss Tillington and Miss Cassie Springer. Bye, guys.